Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tunnel Vision, a show brought to you by USCFootball.com. I'm your host, Ryan Abraham, joined alongside Shotgun Spratling all the way from the East Coast, and Chris Trevino over there in studio with me, swim fan. Let's get a better look at Chris's getup. We got to talk about USC winning their 8th Heisman Trophy. Who did it? Caleb Williams. Comes from the DMV, where Chris is from. And if you don't know the gag or whatever, Chris Trevino was actually his swimming coach back in 10 years ago, 2012. This is a photo he included in there. So I wanted to kind of put that up and so you guys could check it out. So Chris was his swimming coach. And then now we have this. This is what Chris came to the studio, completely professional. But we got a great show for you today. Jack Smith, if you guys normally tune in, our great intern, he's got to go back home. So he finished his finals. He's back home in the Bay Area. So I'll be doing the hosting duties. We get Shotgun, who's coming in remotely from the East Coast because he was there. He was in New York City last night for the Heisman Trophy ceremony, all the festivities leading up to that. So we're going to get Shotgun's perspective on Caleb winning the Heisman, talk about USC going to the Cotton Bowl, playing Tulane. The transfer portal is heating up, so we're going to talk about all that kind of stuff. But I want to welcome you guys in. How are you guys doing, man? Shotgun, start with you, and then we're going to get to whatever Chris is doing there.
I mean, I just took a nap. It was a kind of whirlwind weekend in New York. A lot of things kind of going on at different times and kind of bouncing around. And New York obviously is, it takes a little bit of time to get around New York. So I was bouncing around at different places. All the media festivities are in one spot, but bounced around to see some friends and family and whatnot. So definitely had fun, but big weekend for USC, obviously with Caleb Williams winning and becoming the 8th USC former player or former player to win the trophy. And the stiff arm comes back to Southern California and back to Heritage Hall. Add another one to the mix.
Yeah, pretty impressive. And it was cool to see Chris Fowler say USC's record 8th trophy, because they've won 8 of those. They've had 8 different USC Trojans stepped up on that stage and accepted the stiff arm trophy, which is great. We got to get to Chris because Halloween was awesome. Really, the Randy Macho Man Savage that was epic. The two of us were kind of sitting next to each other. Now I can show you like where we are in the room. So Chris is over there, but he's there. But we got to show Chris. We need some explanation. I don't know. What are we doing here, Chris? Give us the bit.
I just thought that in honor of the first player from the DMV to win a Heisman, I thought it was fitting that I threw it back to where I first met Caleb, which was in the swimming pool, Temple Hills Swim Club. I'm rocking the Temple Hills cap. That is an official cap, probably from the 2012 season. So rummaged this in my swim bag, and I just decided to go with the look for what's happening today. Also, this cap is very tight. It's tighter than I remember. Also, the goggles are literally crushing my eyeballs with the pressure that is created. So we'll see if I pass out halfway through this show, but it is very, very tight all up in this cranium region. So we'll see if I don't have an aneurysm or something, but I just wanted to throw it back and honor the DMV with having its first Heisman winner in Caleb Williams, and arguably the greatest player ever to come out of the region has been anointed. So I thought it was fitting to do this.
Yeah, nice tribute, Chris. We love it. Looking great as always. Make sure. So Chris had a great story leading up to the Heisman, the making of a Heisman Trophy, candidate, and you can read that. Chris put that up there.
Winner.
It was winner, but you put it up before he won, right?
I know, but it's winner now.
Now
We've
it's winner.
updated it all.
Oh, it's
they can't
updated.
have a of winner.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna fix that. It's the making of a Heisman. There was no doubt that he was gonna win. I don't know why Chris put contender in there. That went up without my approval. It would just been straight Heisman because that's what Caleb Williams is. But an absolutely phenomenal story if you haven't read it. A lot of the things that Caleb Williams actually touched on in his speech, and some people were like, "Wow, I didn't know that." Well, if you remember of the peristyle, if you read this story, then you would know some of those things, talking about him growing up and what led to him becoming a Heisman quarterback, because he was a running back and a linebacker, and a smaller running back and linebacker growing up. So the trials and tribulations that got him to where he is, the plan that he talked about, that his father talked about, all those things all came together. Chris wrote about all those things. So it's a great story. If you haven't checked it out, make sure you go read it, because it'll kind of complete everything that you heard during the Heisman Trophy presentation as well.
Yeah, for sure. He talked about a lot of that stuff, the 5:30 workouts, the plan, being too small to play running back in that All-Star game or whatever it was, and playing quarterback and doing some of the crazy stuff you saw him do, this season when he won the Heisman. But Chris, Shotgun, let's stay with you for a little bit, because you were there the days leading up to this. What was it like? What were the festivities like around the Heisman?
I mean, the normal availabilities that there are is that there was an availability the day before. They had a pre-ceremony availability, so all four of the Heisman, and each of the finalists, each time that they had the availabilities, basically, the second time, right before, a couple hours before the ceremony, they had them on the stage, kind of taking questions together. But then each time they would break out into individual, kind of media day scrums, where it's just one table that the player is sitting at, and then the media can bounce back and forth to whichever player they want to talk to. So it was a good opportunity to kind of talk with Caleb Williams about how he was kind of going about his business. But USC, give credit to USC and the Pac-12, they put together a Heisman breakfast, which was really awesome. We got a chance to sit down with Matt Leinart, Carson Palmer, Mike Garrett was there, and Caleb Williams all came for the beat writers and whatnot, to the local media, to get a chance to get a little more intimate opportunity to speak with those people. And it was really awesome to hear Carson Palmer and Matt Leinart, and to see them interact with Caleb Williams and some of the advices that they were giving him. One of them is Caleb looked a little bit tired when he came down in the morning, his early morning breakfast. And Carson kind of, as Caleb started perking up a little bit, Carson said, "Be ready. The next 48 hours are going to be exhausting." And that's, you see this morning that Caleb Williams was on Good Morning America. This is after going out with his offensive linemen last night, and celebrating a little bit. And he's got a gala. He had a gala event today that they host. The media is not allowed to. That has all the the previous winners and whatnot. So just it's one thing on top of another. But the media availability was great. Getting a chance to talk to them the day before, in the morning before, and then right before the ceremony, and then of course we got to talk to the winner afterwards as well, and got to talk to Lincoln Riley. And what a weekend for Lincoln Riley. I mean, this is his third Heisman Trophy winner in 6 years as a head coach. But he said this one was more special than the other ones. Why? Because his brother, Garrett, was there as well, because TCU, quarterback Max Duggan, was also there as a finalist. So the Riley brothers together there, coaching two of the four finalists and the top two finishers in the Heisman Trophy race. So it was an incredible weekend for the Rileys. I actually ran into Lincoln Riley on his way in the day of the ceremony. And I chatted with him for a little bit, and I was like, "How tired are you right now?" Because he has been flying all over the country recruiting this past week. They had official visits this week, and you see see what has come out of that so far today, with the commitment of Georgia State linebacker Jamil Muhammad. But he goes to USC on Friday for the official visit. Comes to New York City on Saturday. He had been in Florida. I think in Florida. He's been in Texas. He's been in a couple other states throughout the week as well, doing in-home visits, doing visits at schools and stuff. So he's been all over the place. And when they had the Heisman Trophy media availability after Caleb Williams won. So it's in a different building. So the ceremony itself, they have the ceremony, they bring the winner back over to the media. And during this section of media availability, Lincoln Riley's kind of standing over on the side, and I could tell, like, he's kind of leaned against the wall, and you could tell that he was exhausted, but just a huge smile on his face. And how could you not smile when your quarterback has such a meaningful speech? Lincoln Riley was tearing up a little bit. Caleb Williams is Lincoln Riley's wife as well. Caleb Williams' parents were tearing up, and Caleb, I thought, was going to potentially lose it during the ceremony because he's kind of had this emotional catharsis at the end of things, at the end of games, at the end of the UCLA game. He's bottled up all this energy, and then when they win, he's bouncing all over the place, where he had been cool, calm, and collected throughout. Against Utah, he's cool, calm, and collected during the game, even with a hamstring injury. And then at the very end, all the emotions come flooding out. And I wrote about that today. And, I asked him about it leading up, and he said, there's a chance that I do get emotional, but he was able to kind of keep it together. There were some sniffles. You saw him taking his time with his speech, but he was able to make it through without kind of breaking down. But it was a fun weekend for sure, and getting a chance to interact with those guys in a more intimate setting was really fun as well.
Yeah, well, great job out there, Shotgun. You were crushing the coverage. It was great to see you there. Obviously, it's a great, it's a great environment when you have so many former USC players there as well. Matt Leinart, Carson Palmer, and Caleb Williams is in a unique position now with he can play next year and he can be a Heisman voter. Matt Leinart did that too. I believe he voted for Reggie Bush. I forgot to ask him, but I asked him, you voted, right? He said, yeah. Mm-hmm. So he can vote with that pretty. I mean, that's pretty cool that you can do that. So Caleb Williams coming back, hinted at maybe coming back for 2 years. I don't think that's going to happen, but he made a little mention of that. Chris, we got to go back to you because obviously, as his former coach.
I just had two follow-ups with Shotgun. Actually, three. One being, I just wanted to give some flowers to Shotgun for his great coverage in New York, the bustling city of New York. But he took it down from photos to instant analysis, solo instant analysis, tweeting, writing stories, and still being the managing editor of all our stupid stories. He handled all of that with grace, as only Shotgun could. So I just wanted to say thank you for all the work that he did this weekend. Two, where did you guys actually watch the ceremony from? Like, are you actually in that room, or are you like in some media pen?
No, so the media is not allowed. The Lincoln Center where they hosted is actually pretty small venue.
Looks pretty small.
I think someone said 450 seats or something like that.
Okay.
So it's pretty small. There's probably, if I was guessing, 60 to 80 media members were in attendance, at the final day. So all the media events are held at the Marriott Marquis, which is right in Times Square, which was crazy. It's at this time of year that everything's kind of going crazy, all the Christmas stuff. There was SantaCon in New York City, so there were Santa people everywhere on Saturday walking around, dressed up in, the big bar crawl or whatever it is. So it was definitely an interesting scene, but the Lincoln Center is a little bit further north in Manhattan, I don't know, 8-10 blocks up, and at the base of Central Park. So that's why they had a pre-ceremony media availability with all four of the finalists. They took them away. They drove them over to the Lincoln Center, and then they brought, and they're fully dressed by the time they had this, and then they bring the winner back. So we are all watching it basically in a media ballroom, on big giant screens. So we're watching the same as everyone else as far as that goes. So no extra insights as far as being in the building. We'll have to get that from the offensive lineman because that's a big storyline we haven't touched on, but Caleb Williams brought all 8 of his offensive linemen with him to New York City and basically threatened to not attend the event if the Heisman people, he couldn't remember who he told this to. He said this multiple times. He said, I can't remember who I told. I told a couple people, but if they don't come, then I'm not coming. was basically his message. So he brought the entire offensive lineman, and those guys were absolutely giddy. You can see it on their face in the photos and stuff, and their social medias that they have. They were so excited to be there. In the Holly Rowe interview, the little 1 minute thing that she did, just you can see the excitement on their face, and the fact that Caleb did that for them. And they were asked whose idea was it, and they said it was Caleb's idea. This was him. And so, they got 8 of those linemen to come out there, and those tickets are hard to come by. So this was not just like, oh yeah, you get an allotment of 20 tickets and you brought your offensive lineman. Like, they get a small allotment. I don't know how many it is, if it's 4, if it's 6 or whatever, but Caleb had his family there. He had his high school coach there, and then he had his offensive lineman. So they had a big number, a big turnout for Caleb Williams. And hey, when you're going to win the award, I guess you got a little bit of leverage there, and he used it to get his offensive lineman there. So I think that just shows again the leadership and character that this guy has, and why USC was able to turn around from a 4-8 season to 11-2, despite all the new faces and everything else. I think it speaks volumes to the leader that Caleb Williams is, how everyone kind of, was pushing in the right direction, and the love that he's received from his teammates throughout this season. Especially, he was very thankful for the love he's received since the Pac-12 championship game. He said his teammates, a lot of them reached out and said thank you to him, and he said that meant a lot to him. Because he's just, he's going out trying to ball like he always is. But for them, after a loss, and him playing on one leg, for his teammates to reach out and say thank you is very appreciative.
Yeah. Chris, though, I mean, I need to hear more from you on this. This is a big deal. This is your guy, your former pupil, your former student, now winning the Heisman Trophy. You are a Heisman Trophy winning coach or coach. Yeah, I don't know what we want to call it, but the floor is yours, Chris.
I mean, I really, really don't know what to say. It all feels very surreal. Sorry, let me put my goggles back down for this. It all feels very surreal. And I'm just speaking not as sort of, a USCFootball.com writer, but more so just myself as someone who, grew up in Maryland, was a swim coach in Maryland for a little bit, and came across get Caleb Williams in our swim team. He was going to swim with us for the summer. Great. I heard he was an up-and-coming football player. We continue to hear about it, through the other coaches on the team. Like, hey, Caleb's doing pretty well. He's a pretty good Pop Warner guy. He's making a lot of buzz. Then it was like, okay, you guys see this? Caleb Williams, that kid we used to coach, starting at Gonzaga. Oh, Caleb Williams wins the WCAC. Oh, Caleb Williams is getting offers from across the country. Caleb Williams just got offered by USC. I cover USC. Wouldn't that be crazy if he went to USC? He's not going to come to USC because, Clay Helton's in charge of USC. He's not coming to USC. Caleb Williams going to Oklahoma. Caleb Williams, 5-star quarterback. Caleb Williams wins Elite 11, whatever, MVP. And then, the craziness of Lincoln Riley coming to USC, Caleb Williams coming to USC, and it's just been very crazy and surreal. Caleb Williams wins the Heisman. It's just a very surreal thing to be talking about here in the studio, dressed as I am right now. But I can clearly look down in the pool of a morning practice and seeing Caleb Williams in my group lane, yelling at them to swim their 500 warm-up for practice, and all of them not listening to me. I can clearly see that and hear that in myself. So that it's very just surreal as someone who, was like literally knew him when he was a kid. And I joke a lot, and there's been a lot of jokes on social media about Coach 10K, 18K, whatever you want to call it. You did it. You were the one who got him there. I absolutely had nothing to do with this in this Heisman run. And I just want to make that clear. It is a bit, but I just want to make that clear on the record.
Yeah.
And congrats to him. And I want to say congrats to him and his family. And doing it for the DMV and Washington, D.C. and that region, very special moment. So congrats to him and his family.
Yeah, Chris, we had a comment that said Caleb winning the Heisman Trophy means to D.C. and sports fans in the city, yes, we can make it. Thank you, Caleb. He wasn't actually asked about, winning. And Chris had this stat in his story, but he's technically the second person from Maryland, second person born in Maryland to win the Heisman. I believe he was born in Maryland. I know he grew up there, but the DMV area has not had a true Heisman. Chris, can you speak on why that is and what you think it means to that area, and maybe even you can mention the Gonzaga College prep, the reaction that they had. If you saw that clip, of those guys and him shouting out, not only is Lincoln Riley and his offensive linemen and the other USC Heisman winners, but his coaches, his mentors, that inner circle that he has, and his high school coach and everything. So it's not like something he's forgotten. He definitely wanted to mention the DMV. What do you think it means to that area?
I think it means everything. And I talked to a lot of people. Everyone I talked to for this story, I asked them, like, what would it mean for Caleb to, be the first Heisman winner out of the DMV? And yes, as you mentioned, he is technically kind of the second person that has been born in that area. The first one being Doug Flutie, the Boston College quarterback. Everyone knows Doug Flutie, but he was born in Maryland. But in doing the research, Doug Flutie actually moved to Florida when he was a kid, 6 years old, and then he played his high school ball in Massachusetts on his way to Boston College. So he is not, while he may have been technically born there, he is not of the DMV. And I think the Washington Post did a really good story on looking at Caleb Williams and the DMV and the Heisman perspective. And they had a great line about, while Doug Flutie was born in Maryland, he is not of the DMV. He was not born and raised there. So that's why there's this distinction between those two and why Caleb is technically the first. And I know everyone you would talk to from the area would say, if you brought up that fact, you'd be like, oh, yeah, it's Caleb Williams is the first. And there have been people that have come close, Chase Young, who's also came out of that league, WCAC, where Gonzaga is. He played at my alma mater, DeMatha. He finished as a Heisman finalist, just the ninth finalist that was on the defensive side of the ball. The late Dwayne Haskins out of Ohio State, he was a finalist. So those are the two of the most recent guys that have been up there. But, no player has been able to get over that hump. Blake Corum out of Michigan, he finished seventh in the Heisman. Probably, I think could have made it if he wasn't injured at the end of the year with that season-ending injury. But actually played against Caleb Williams when Caleb was with the Bowie Elite, and Blake was playing on a nationally recognized Pop Warner team, the Maryland Heat. And I wrote about that game in that story you can check out. And Blake and Caleb actually trained together. So there are all these connections, and for him to win it for that region, it means a lot because that region is very fertile. It's why Alabama, recruits there. It's why Lincoln Riley has made inroads in that area, in that region, and offered a lot of kids out of there, and hits up the WCAC schools every year with that with his coaching staff. It's because there's a lot of talent produced there, and per capita, it's obviously a very small region compared to like a Texas or a Florida or California. But it still produces a lot of top and high end, 5-star NFL type talent. So I think Caleb being the Heisman is sort of a big affirmation for the area and the region. It kind of solidifies that area as being a high end talent producer across the country. Not just in football, but other stuff. It's considered one of the meccas of basketball and college basketball. But for football, I think it stamps it and solidifies it as being a true talent producer, up there in terms of some of the bigger states, like I mentioned, California, Texas, because per capita, there's a lot of great talent that comes out of there. And just having the best player in the country be of that region does a lot to affirm that and affirm those beliefs for them. So a lot of talent, this is true of any talent pool, but a lot of talent doesn't make it out of places, and there's some that certainly happens in other places, but DC specifically, that region, PG County, you see a lot of talent that doesn't make it out. So to have someone make it to that level and to that status also means a lot for those people out there.
Yeah, and it's means a lot for the region, of course. Means a lot for Caleb Williams, his family. Lincoln Riley winning the first, I believe he's the first head coach to win three Heisman Trophy winners under his watch. And then
no, not the first there, Ryan.
Pete Carroll did too.
Pete Carroll had 3, obviously, and then Saban has 4, and I believe Frank Leahy has 4 as well. So there's 2. I
Okay.
think there's 2 coaches with 4. He's the first one with 3 quarterbacks to win the Heisman.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, he's the first one to have 3 in 6 years. I can tell you that. I mean,
Yeah.
Pete Carroll. Well, I don't know. Pete Carroll
had 3
in his first 6 years, I think, or 5 years or 6 years,
Yeah, he
something
did
like that
5,
as well.
I think, yeah.
But he also had a longer career and stuck at 3. So we'll see where Lincoln Riley goes from here. Maybe he gets another finalist, another winner next year. That'll be the big question next year is, can Caleb Williams become the first one to repeat? And we've seen several guys recently because of a lot of redshirt freshmen and just younger guys playing and getting those opportunities and, being big time stars, that there have been several guys in the last 2 decades that have been like, oh, they're coming back. And yet not been able to fulfill have the same success the next season. Look at Bryce Young this past year. And so we'll see if Caleb Williams can surpass what he did this season to potentially, be a back-to-back guy, the second one ever.
Yeah, but pretty impressive. He's had, a bunch of finalists, not just the 3 winners, a couple runners up as well in the 7 years, I think once when he was an offensive coordinator. But to have 3 Heisman winners under your belt and you're not even 40 years old, pretty impressive for Lincoln Riley. And then for USC, I think it means a lot. I've been voting in the Heisman, I think about 10 years or whatever now, and just haven't had an opportunity to put someone that's from USC number 1 on the ballot, and was able to do that this year. And knowing that, going into this, that he was likely going to win and what it would mean for the school. A lot, the last winner USC had was Reggie Bush, and he doesn't have his trophy right now, and there's a big push to get that back. I think adding another one on top of that, and it was, tied with 7 with Ohio State and Notre Dame. Now you go to 8, and the fact that they even mentioned it on the broadcast, I think that's a big deal. And it's bringing back hardware. It wasn't the championship that they wanted, and they were close, to be able to win that in the first year, but still an opportunity to win a New Year's Six Bowl, win 12 games in a season. But getting that Heisman Trophy is sort of like, this is an announcement. Hey, USC football's back. We're going to be back on the national stage. You got a guy that's winning the Heisman. He was the only guy up there on the stage that wasn't going to the college football playoff. And I think he's got a decent opportunity. When, Matt won it, you had Reggie on your team. There's no Reggie Bush on this team outside of Caleb Williams, but his goals are to get back. So if they can improve on what he did, not just his numbers, but just, because if they go to the college football playoff next year, they win the Pac-12. That's taking you have an opportunity as a winner to take your game to another level. Like when you're in Alabama, it's like really hard to get better. Like if you win a national championship and you got to try to win it again, that's tough. But they didn't even win the conference, so there's more to be accomplished. So I think there's a real opportunity there for him to do it. But to me, I'll get your guys' thoughts on this. This is a big deal. This is 4 and 8 and all that stuff. Whatever. USC just wasn't nationally relevant. You win the Heisman Trophy, you're nationally relevant again. And I think that's what Lincoln Riley's showing. Winning 11 games is great and all that. You beat UCLA, you beat Notre Dame. You got to do that kind of stuff. But now you're talking about history with winning a Heisman. And USC's got a lot of history there. This is adding to it.
I'll let you go ahead, Chris, first.
Yeah.
I just want to say a quick shout out to Ryan. You covered half of USC's Heisman winners.
Yeah, it's crazy.
How does that feel?
I know. It's pretty nuts. Carson Palmer back in the day. That started everything. 20-year anniversary for Carson Palmer. So
and
he'll be honored for 25th.
Back.
Yeah, he said it was
his first time back. Yeah, because when you play in the NFL for 15 seasons, there's not usually a lot of time on a December Saturday night to make it out.
Yeah.
And I talked with him a little bit, and I'll have this. I'm working on a Ghost Notes kind of game day, Heisman Trophy Day Ghost Notes in honor of Chris. Trying to steal his thunder as much as possible.
I'm not dead.
R.I.P. To Chris there, but working on that. But you have some stuff in there about why he his talked with him for a good bit, was really fun. But why he hasn't come back before now, and like the impetus that Caleb Williams just kind of gave is like, okay, well, if Caleb Williams is going to be there, maybe we should go. We haven't gone recently as a family. Let's go and enjoy this kind of a December in New York City. And same thing with Matt Leinart. He hadn't been. He said since his 10th anniversary, so that would have been 2014. So been a while since he had been back either. And we had a question actually to answer real quick about why wasn't Marcus Allen there, or why was it?
Yeah.
And it's completely up to the former winners whether or not they want to go. And Carson Palmer made it sound like it's not something like the Heisman Trust doesn't pay for everything. But if you want to be there, like they want you to be a part of all the stuff, and there's cool stuff that you can do, but they don't like pay for your flight and your family's flight and your hotel expenses and all that type of stuff. So it's kind of up to you. So that's probably why that didn't happen. So it would be interesting to try to get all 8 of USC's Heisman winners together at some point. I don't know if that photo is ever going to happen, but you got to try to make it happen, right? If you're USC, like you got to reach out to Charles White and OJ Simpson, like, hey, is there something we can get together and make this happen before anything happens to someone or whatnot? But it was definitely really cool to get to hang out that breakfast with what ends up being now half the Heismans as well. So I got to have breakfast with half the USC Heismans.
Yeah.
I have to wonder what it's like when OJ walks in the room.
Yeah.
Oh, if they do have all 8 of them, that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
To be a fly on the wall would be fun.
It would be a great photo.
But Ryan, back to your question.
Yeah.
The cap is cutting off circulation in my brain, but you said what it does to USC's national relevance again and winning the Heisman. That was the basis of your question.
Yeah. What do you think?
I think it does. Obviously, I'm not ready even close to declare the quote unquote phrase that's been uttered recently over the last several months is USC is back. No, I would not go far as say that, but it is a massive leap to getting to where you want to be in terms of being able to say USC is back. If USC's back is over here and you started here, you made it here. Heisman gave you a big jump closer to that, like a massive, massive leap towards that, just because of, that's a major award, arguably the most impressive individual sports award in American sports you can win is the Heisman, the iconic trophy. So to have USC get back to that place, to have a winner, to have the most amount of Heisman winners out of anyone, no one has more than USC in terms of 8. To have that point back, on the resume, and to use it as a recruiting tool when you bring kids in and you bring transfers in is incredible. And it will help feed the fuel that USC is doing to get back, to accelerate their path back to, a college football playoff and playing for a national championship. I think, you look at it as, an individual award, but it still means a lot in terms of what a program is and what a program can do and representing a program on a national stage.
And how could you?
Oh, go ahead.
How could you not think that that's going to happen going forward if you listen to Caleb Williams' speech? Because it was not about, hey, look how great I am. I won this award, and thanks to the people around me that helped make me great. It was, this is great, and I'm excited to win this award. But I look at all the finalists out there, and you guys get to go to the college football playoff, and I don't. So, that was one of the things he said. The fact that he said he's got unfinished business with Lincoln Riley, that they've still got work to do, the job's not done, all those things. And, yeah, that if someone was writing that speech for him, maybe they throw some of those things in there. But he means all those things. That's going to be his motivation all year. And I wanted to mention this earlier, and I forgot to throw it in there, but he is super young. People forget that because of how much he's already played, but that was one of the things that Carson Palmer mentioned to me is that this kid has only played, he started 20 games basically. So, he's going to continue to get better. And you even saw it from the beginning of the season to the end of the season, some of the things that he was doing a little bit differently. And Lincoln Riley mentioned it, that this kid's super young still. So next year he could take his game to an even higher level. And, the big thing is going to be, can they get some pieces around him, maybe on the defensive side, to add to that on the offensive line so that he has some protection like he did this season. They got to be able to replace Brett Nealon, Andrew Voorhees, Bobby Haskins. If they can fill some of those holes, this team could be even better next season because that kid is going to get even better next season.
Yeah. Well, it's a big deal. And congratulations to Caleb Williams. And it was great to see some of the stories come out there. I know he was getting flack for painting his fingernails, and there was definitely a bunch of Utah people that were upset. The fact that he brought 2 Utah kids that, to the game, that they had just lost their father, and He just does a lot of stuff behind the scenes, which is great. He's just great kid. You could see just in his speech what he was able to do, bringing the offensive lineman, all that kind of stuff. If you're a USC football fan and you're watching this, you probably are. You should feel really proud that someone like that is in your program. It's definitely someone that's easy to root for. So congratulations to Caleb Williams, USC's record eighth Heisman Trophy winner. All right. We should probably move on. I know there's some people that are coming into the chat maybe a little bit late, and they're like, keep wondering about what's going on with Chris. And I love this. So Chris put it out. He said, if I get 200 retweets, I'm going to tweet the photo because the bit's been going on for a while.
Oh, are
Chris,
new people in? I should put this down. Though.
Yeah. Chris was a swim coach back in the DMV, back in Maryland. And in 2012, Caleb Williams was one of his students. And he said he saved this photo, and he predicted that Caleb was going to win the Heisman. He did. Saved this photo after the ceremony, tweeted out, if I get 200 retweets, I will tweet out this photo, which he did. So you can see Chris, and then you can see Caleb Williams, Chris up top middle, and then Caleb down the bottom. Pretty amazing.
Also, to be clear, I didn't say he was going to win the Heisman in 2012. I'm saying I think he means I made a bold prediction. At the start of the year. I made one of my 10 poll predictions for the season was that Caleb Williams would win the Heisman.
Yeah.
So I didn't make it back in 2012. That would have been insane.
So if you're joining us late, that's the bit. And Chris is, he's very dedicated to the bit. So it's pretty awesome.
No, keep going.
This is perfect. He came in here. I saw him. He was in the studio early.
I was
doing my work. I bring in some pizza. And he goes to the bathroom and comes back dressed like that.
I say, Ryan, I'm not a professional. I just want you to know I'm not a professional. Shotgun, I forgot to ask you my last question. Did you get any New York pizza?
I got some Brooklyn-style pizza, technically in New Jersey, but I did get some. Sorry. I'm not going to the big touristy spots. I walked by. Joe's Pizza, which is in LA, is one of the big spots. I walked by it, and the line was wrapped around, so I'm not waiting in line for all that. But I got some late night pizza on Saturday after the ceremony and everything. I mean, I didn't leave the media room. They had already broken down all the stage and everything, so I didn't leave the media room till like 2:00 in the morning. So it was just getting whatever was open at that time.
Classic Shotty.
Okay. Well, so we got some other stuff we need to talk about. Congrats to Caleb Williams again. Pretty awesome. This is a silly season. Before we even get anything else, I know apparently Mike Leach is in critical condition in a hospital in Mississippi. So we've been able to cover him in the Pac-12 for years, and wish him the very best. I know a lot of people in the chat were putting that up there. So we're doing the show. Don't really have any updates, but I guess people are tweeting out that he's in critical condition. So prayers going out to him, and hopefully he's going to be okay. He's just a huge personality in college football, and hopefully he's going to be all right. But the transfer portal opened up, late Sunday night, early Monday morning. It's a little crazy. A lot of stuff kind of going on. USC's had some players enter the portal, not necessarily any big names or starters. Picking up a couple, looks like pretty big names coming in so far. We'll see where this kind of all goes. I don't know. Do you want to start, Shotty, and talk about some of the portal action that's been going on?
I mean, they did lose one starter, at least a part-time starter, in Raylan Goforth for the last 3 years. He was full-time starter in 2020, split time last year a little bit, and then this year it was in that rotation with Eric Gentry and Shane Lee as the three primary linebackers. All three of them got banged up at different times. Tuasivi Nomura got banged up, so a lot of injuries there. So that linebacker depth is pretty thin right now, once again, and this was the case coming into this season. So that one's a little bit concerning, but that tells you that that USC has basically probably told Raylan Goforth, like, hey, you're going to be at best in a rotation. You're not going to be the starter, and we're still going to try to bring some more guys in. You saw USC picked up a linebacker commit today. So Raylan probably looked at it and said, hey, I've been a starter. I want to go somewhere where I can start and make sure that I have that position. So, USC's trying to continue to upgrade, and linebacker was one of the areas of issue for USC this season, and partially because of the injuries. I mean, Raylan Goforth, he recovers a fumble against Notre Dame with, a cast on his left hand, on his right hand, excuse me. And then Shane Lee intercepts a pass against UCLA with a cast on his left hand. So, those guys were all banged up. Eric Gentry obviously was banged up as well throughout the season. So they got to add more depth at that linebacker position. And, that one is a little bit concerning because Raylan Goforth also played a lot of special teams in his career at USC. So, and there were times at the end of the year where USC had Shane Lee, Raylan Goforth, and Tuasivi Nomura all on kickoff coverage together. So 3 of your top 4 linebackers. So that's a position that they like to use a lot for special teams. So they've got to continue to add some more bodies there, but nothing backbreaking in the portal. Not anything that had USC fans going, oh no, not that person. Not Caleb Williams going in, not a Jordan Addison type of player or anything like that. Now that doesn't mean the portal the window is 45 days, I believe it is. So there could be more people enter the portal. So why would they not enter immediately? Why would they not get their name out there? Well, it's quite possible that USC's players will play in the bowl game and then potentially enter the portal after the bowl game because there's still some time there in the window for them to enter the portal, because you don't have to enter and find a new home in this 45 days. You just have to be entered in the portal, and then you can still find a place somewhere else. But no big players for USC so far. And, you're seeing there's been official visits. They put out a bunch of offers, a ton of defensive offers. If you haven't, you got to listen to the 2-Star Composite podcast. Gerard goes through. Chris just lets him go on the potential guys in the potential targets in the transfer portal. And it is a long, long rant, but it is very thorough. It tells you about every single person that they could be going after that have been in the portal so far. So, that's a must listen as well. But, there's a lot of targets potentially out there for USC.
Yeah.
But don't forget, like I said, USC players haven't gone into the portal yet. There could be a whole new wave of guys go in from other schools, and maybe impact guys go in after the bowl games are played. The window will still be open. And then again, there'll be another window after the March, after spring practice and everything. So there's 2 more windows. USC will be definitely thoroughly combing the transfer portal to find guys that have made an impact already that can come in and make an impact for USC. You saw what the guys they brought in were able to do this season. Everyone from the guys you would expect with Caleb Williams, Jordan Addison, and Mario Williams and all those guys to a guy like Tyrone Taleni. Had not really done anything. Had a couple sacks in his career at Kansas State, and he comes in and he was second team all conference for the Associated Press. So that tells you, the impact he was able to make. And he took over the defense tackle spot late in the season. He was playing 60, 70 snaps a game. So if you can find more guys like that where people are just like, yeah, that's a nice pickup, whatever, don't even think about it. And then later in the year, you're like, that guy's starting for you and he's playing a ton of snaps. That's the type of thing that USC is looking for. You're looking for those impact guys that may be a little bit under the radar, as well as those big name, high profile guys of the Caleb Williams, Jordan Addison magnitude.
Yeah. And make sure you check out Gerard just put up. So if you follow USCfootball.com, if you're not a member, first of all, you can sign up right now and get 50% off, which is great. But also get the Paramount Plus deal early. So go check that out. Half price for an annual membership, and you get Paramount Plus. So we haven't really promoted very much of that promotion, but go check it out if you're not a member. This is a great time to do it. If you like streaming, Paramount Plus has a lot of awesome stuff. You go check that out. But Gerard does his target list for the upcoming recruiting classes, and he also created huge target lists for the transfer portal for offense and defense. So that went up there for VIP members only. So make sure you go check it out. USC is always going to try to add some more players through the transfer portal. Picked up a couple in the last 24 hours. Chris, do you want to go over the additions that USC got from the portal?
Sure. One of them being a punter, and not just any punter. It's the best punter in the Pac-12 last year. He was first team All Pac-12 selection. I'm going to absolutely butcher his name right now, so I really just want to go. Okay, help me out, Shotgun. Do it.
We reached out to Austin Green, our writer who went to Arizona State, to have him reach out, and he says according to some of the radio people at Arizona State that called the games this past fall, it's Chaplitsky.
Eddie Chaplitsky.
That's where we're going to go with.
So many times this year, but Eddie Chaplitsky has transferred to USC. He is committed. He is, as I mentioned, 6'1", 190 pounds, punter. First team All Pac-12 selection for the Sun Devils. So USC is picking up the best punter in the conference last year. He averaged around 45 yards per punt, which is tops in the conference, and I believe it was somewhere between 8th and 9th nationally. So he was he was booting them this year as a sophomore. Will be a junior this coming year. Special teams, as Ryan and I know Shotgun have talked about, were, especially Ryan, very inconsistent, and punting was part of that. There were some punts that were, good. They were stretched where they were fine, but then they were towards the end. It felt like they were really inconsistent. USC did bring in Aiden Sleep Dalton late last year, kind of a scramble after Atticus Bertram's, their high school signee, wasn't able to make it on campus in the summer. So punting always felt a little bit up in the air. They were able to get someone via Australia and Sleep Dalton, but now they have a top punter coming in. We'll see what that battle looks like going to spring, and summer workouts. And I'm assuming Eddie will be the number one guy going into those battles, just with his performance and play so far as in 2 years in the conference. And then the other one, which is the more significant one, because USC does need more linebacker depth and defensive depth, is Jamil Muhammad, who from Georgia State took his official visit this weekend to USC and decided to say, don't need to go anywhere else. Going to make my commitment. Actually, on the night of the Heisman ceremony, tweeted out a photo with him and his dad holding up the number 13 jersey, which is on our screen right now. And he kind of wrote with that, congrats to Caleb Williams. It was like he was already a teammate of Caleb Williams, making that tweet out there. So, you felt very good about USC's chances if they gave him the green light to commit. When it went ahead and did commit, he is from the Georgia region, the South. Was a quarterback out of high school, signed with Vanderbilt, didn't actually enroll in Vanderbilt, ended up going to Georgia State and played kind of an outside linebacker for them. Not, stats don't blow you away in terms of production, but very solid player. I think this is a guy who could start, but also think this is a guy who's can come in, provide experience, depth. Could be a starter. I mean, I'm not going to not say he can't start for this defense, but 6'2", around 230 pounds, I believe. Kind of a bruiser back, kind of a bruiser kind of guy, but he is an athlete. He did play quarterback and a little basketball in high school, so he can move. Shotgun probably has more on his career stats and stuff because I do not know them off the top of my head. But I think it's a good pickup. This is a solid pickup. You need some of those depth guys, reserve guys that have experience for that linebacker room, which has lost 3 linebackers to the transfer portal already, and probably I would not be surprised if there was one more. So you definitely need some of these bodies in there.
Yeah. But that's where kind of like what's going on with the transfer portal right now. Not a ton of fireworks, but got some action in there. So make sure you stick around and check it out. We'll be tweeting out and putting stuff over on USCFootball.com, all the different transfers. Anyone else transfers out, new transfers in, official visits, all that kind of stuff. It's crazy because you got the early signing period coming up. You got the transfers kind of going on at all times. And USC is getting ready for a bowl game, playing Tulsa in the Cotton Bowl on January 2nd. Chris and I will both be there in Dallas covering the events leading up to the game. So we'll be there for New Year's Eve. Yay, we get to be in New Year's Eve, Dallas for New Year's Eve. But that should be fun. But yeah, so going into that, this is one of those things where we don't know what the schedule is for practice. We haven't heard of any media availability. Obviously, you got to kind of get rolling on this, with Lincoln Riley, Caleb Williams being in New York, a lot of that award stuff and everything going on. But it's a busy time. Shaka talked about how busy Lincoln Riley was. You're still recruiting. You're still trying to get guys out of the portal. But, oh, by the way, you have a bowl game to get ready for. We don't know the status of Caleb Williams for the bowl game. Did that come up at all, Shotgun? His health after the Pac-12 championship game?
He was not asked specifically about it, but the way he talked was, "I've got to get ready for this bowl game. I've got to get ready for this bowl game." He was not supporting a big limp, necessarily. Like he had definitely coming off the field, and the Caleb Cares event that he had last week. Some people said he was still limping. There wasn't a significant limp from the little bit that I saw him walking around. So I think that he's going to be working on it. I don't know. USC's definitely not going to rush him back, but if he can play, he's going to be out there because that's the type of competitor he is. He's not going to just take his time off and rehab. I'm like, it's not. There's nothing for me to gain from this game. There's always something to gain and get better. So he will be back out there if it's possible. If not, you got Miller Moss. Miller Moss has not entered the transfer portal or anything, which some people were afraid about. Does he just jump in there immediately? Now Miller Moss might do that after the bowl game. We'll see. Could happen, depending on how everything kind of plays out and what opportunities he gets there. You never know. But so that's something
By the way,
keep an eye on.
I said Tulsa, apparently. Tulane.
Tulane.
Get those mixed up. Tulane.
When I was looking up stats for Tulane for the first look, I looked up a lot of them were for Tulsa, so I had to redo the whole thing.
Yeah.
I hate the names.
They do. They're similar. Yeah. But
the Green Wave, guys.
It's the Green Wave. It's Tulane.
The beautiful baby blue uniforms that they have with the green. That's the best baby blue combination in the country.
Those weren't throwbacks. Those were their actual.
They wear the baby blues at times. Yes.
Oh.
But Tulane difference is Tulsa is where Zach Hansen just came from.
Yeah.
Guys. Come on, you should know this. But Tulane is going to be a tough opponent. They got some talented players, a very talented running back, and USC is going to have to be prepared for that. And this will be an interesting job of Lincoln Riley getting the players motivated, because it's not a college football playoff game, and you get into a New Year's Six bowl, but you feel like, all right, we're playing Tulane. You're not playing a blue blood or anything else, but this is a quality team, a quality opponent they're going to be facing. So that'll be interesting. First, let me get to Chris mentioning Jamil Muhammad. His stats, he's had 66 tackles combined in the last 2 seasons, with 6 sacks in 2021, only a sack and a half this year. He did have an interception, he had a fumble force. So he's a guy that makes some impact plays, but also remember, as Chris said, that he is a converted quarterback. So he started his career as a quarterback and converted to defense during the 2020 season. But to me, that says, hey, there's a potential for continued growth. And so we'll see if that happens for him at USC and whether he becomes a depth piece or someone that can challenge, and we'll see where they move into, because he has, attacked off the edge for Georgia State. Does USC use him off the edge? Is he a middle linebacker? Those things will be in play there as well. And to talk about the travel aspect of Lincoln Riley, we had a question, Ryan, from Big T, said, I've read that we had a couple of players on official visit, including Jamil Muhammad. With Riley and Caleb in New York City, can you guys go into a little detail how that dynamic worked? Who hosts? What was Riley on live FaceTime? How does that kind of go? Lincoln Riley went back from being on the road in Texas and visiting with these recruits, Braylon Shelby and these other guys, to going to Los Angeles for Friday. So Muhammad and the other guys that are on their official visits, those start on Friday. So he spent time with them on Friday and then flew out Saturday to go to New York City. He's going to stay there through tonight because there's a gala for the Heisman. So he told me that, I was like, do you get any downtime at all while you're here? Do you get to enjoy it a little bit? And he's like, well, if Caleb were to win, this is before the ceremony, he said, then, we'll stick around for the gala. So I would assume that he would get a chance to sleep a little bit early this morning, and then maybe go out during the afternoon and maybe go do something if they didn't have another obligation. But who knows? There might be some big booster or something that Lincoln's got to get out and see and, try to help fund some NIL or something. I don't know. But he's definitely bouncing all over the place there. So that's going on. The preparation going into it, there's a recruiting window open right now. So, the coaches are going to be, and that's why I don't think there was any practice this past week. I know UCLA just started their bowl game preparations. You get a certain amount of bowl game preparations. USC's bowl game is later in the cycle, so they can wait a little bit, give players some time to rest and heal up their bodies for one. But then they'll hit it hard once they get started. And you've seen the coaches have been all over the nation visiting recruits and stuff. So that's part of the reason why they haven't had necessarily any practices, because you don't want to waste those practices when you do get them. You want your coaches there if possible.
Yeah. Why don't we do some questions and then we'll get out of here. But we appreciate everyone coming on and watching on Sunday night. I think we'll continue to try to do these Sunday night shows. We might move it around a little bit, but they seem to work and get a lot of people watching live, so we appreciate that. If you haven't, smash that like button over on our YouTube page. Smash it if you can. We love that. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Inside Troy. Ton of videos going up there. Shotgun did his incident analysis like Chris mentioned, but we put highlights videos up there. We do these live videos. There's a lot of stuff over there. But really, hit that like button. We love it. It helps a lot. Let's go to some questions. We'll first go to Tamale Tom, it looks like. That's a good name. Thoughts on Heisman voters who have openly touted Caleb's fingernails as reasons why he didn't get their vote? Is there any accountability for voters? Seems like petulant behavior. Yes?
I'll leave that to the only Heisman voter on the show right now.
Yeah, so there's 929 voters. There's a lot of weird, like there's people that are like, oh, that guy has a vote. All the former winners have votes, so that's good. I mean, you want that. There's people in every region that cover college football from kind of different walks of life. You're going to get people that are just like, no. The fact that he was on, 88% or 88.5% of the ballots is really good. I think Shotgun tweeted out that was 10th overall, the most. It's hard to get some kind of consensus. I wouldn't worry that there's 100 people that didn't vote for him, and they're probably weird, different reasons. But because there's so many voters, like he still won, by a landslide. But you're not going to get everybody voting for the same guy. It could be a clear number one, and you're going to still get a bunch of people that wouldn't put him on their ballot. They're going to have some weird ballot. It's just, I don't know if they're about accountability. I've never had someone like message me and say, hey, your votes are pretty screwed up. They don't give you any direction. They don't give you any like, here's a whole bunch of stats of the best players. It's not multiple choice. It's like, put the name, put the team. So you put, first place, Caleb Williams, USC. Second place, Max Duggan, TCU. And I put Michael Penix from Washington. I do always try to get a West Coast representation on my ballot. If I can, it's not always easy. But Penix led the nation in passing yards and whatever. So I put him on there. But yeah, so you just kind of you fill it in yourself. There's no direction at all. So people can put in, Mickey Mouse if they want to. I'm sure if you do that a few years, they might say something, but that's a good question. I'm not sure about the accountability part of things, but do you guys have any comments?
Did you notice this? Did you see any actual votes that were publicized? Because I didn't see anyone say that. I know there were a lot of people complaining about that, but they weren't the actual Heisman voters. So I didn't necessarily see that. I know that came up.
Someone tweeted that I left. He put his ballot there, left him off, and was like, he put those on his fingernails. Yeah, it was like one dude, or was just like, all right, there's gonna be sports writers that are really full of themselves.
Holier than now.
Yeah, there's a lot of that going on. Like, I saw a game and he threw an incompletion. He didn't seem Heisman worthy to me. And so I voted for this guy. I like running backs. Like, there's just going to be, you got 900 people voting. Like, there's going to be all the different reasons why you're not going to vote for, especially when it's like a clear number one. They're going to find reasons to not vote for the clear number one, no matter who it is.
And some people may even say, he's going to win it anyways. I want to get these other people on the ballot so that they get to New York or whatever it may be. Eric had a similar question. He said, I know it's not your guys' style, but now that the results are out and Caleb won, can we get a rant on the haters that focus on his nails and other garbage reasons not to support his win? It's the people that are complaining about those are typically the opponents that Caleb Williams is going up against. So, it's mostly the Utah fans or the UCLA fans. Those people that, that are in competition with him, basically. No one said anything when he said F UCLA on his nails 3 weeks before. No one said anything when his nails said FUCK-ND the next week. So, it was 3 weeks in a row that he did it. Now he's done different things throughout the season. Like I think it was against a couple teams, like where he just had it kind of their logo and had a circle with a line through it saying no to the Golden Bears of Cal or whatever it may be. But, those rivalry games, those big games, he wanted to send a statement. And you can tell if you talk to the kid, he knows what he's doing with those things. He knows that it's going to rile some people's but it's also motivation for him. The more haters that are, in his face or whatever, that just makes him play even better, it seems like. I mean, look at his stats in the biggest games this season. And, he outside of the Oregon State game, but the rivalry games at the end of the season, he had the best stats that he had. On one leg, still threw for 363 yards and 3 touchdowns. I mean, he rises to the occasion, and the more pressure that he puts on himself at times is important for him to be able to play even better. So, I think you got to look at where the hate is coming from and then take it with a grain of salt when you realize that it's a lot of opposing fans and stuff.
Yeah. We got a question from Daniel. Do you think Caleb Williams winning the Heisman will help recruiting? And he says specifically on the defensive side. Chris, you want to take this one?
Absolutely. And I tweeted it out, the December pitch for Lincoln Riley throughout all these trips and visits and having people on campus is come play with a Heisman winner. And that isn't necessarily for offensive players. Like, you're pitching that to offensive linemen, like come block for the Heisman winner or come catch a ball from the Heisman winner or come be in the backfield with the Heisman winner for running back. No, it's defensive players too. It's like we have this amazing player, but we need a lot of help on defense. We need you to come in here. You're a missing piece, but this is the guy who's leading the team. We have special weapons on offense. We need some help on defense. We need you to get us over that hump, to get to that Pac-12, to get to that college football playoff. Look how close we were to the college football playoff. We need more guys on defense. We have this elite special player. Come be a part of it. So, yes, it's obviously going to be a big boost for recruiting, high school and transfer.
And similarly, we had a question from Trojan said, how does the Heisman help with recruiting? And not just on the defense side, but exactly what Chris said. But also, if you're an offensive lineman, if you're one of the elite offensive linemen, like, you know what? I wouldn't mind a trip to New York City for the Heisman. Like, if he just took all his offensive linemen, is he going to do it against next year? Like, maybe. So, and you see just the extra publicity. You see how much everyone's talking about USC, even though USC is not in the college football playoff. Basically everyone's season is over outside of 4 teams. Like your hopes of winning a national championship are done. So you have a bowl game, and that's a nice little, prize at the end of the season, whatever. But your season's done. So no one's really talking about Tennessee or Alabama or any of those teams right now. But if you have a Heisman winner, everyone's still talking about USC. So that's going to help, as all these players are going in the transfer portal. Well, one of the teams they're still hearing a lot of stuff about is USC because of Caleb Williams, and you see what he can do. And one, you see the things he does for his teammates and stuff. And like all these small things add up to like, if I'm going somewhere, everyone that's in this transfer portal has probably played with a quarterback that they hated. Because a lot of quarterbacks go one way or the other with teammates. You either love them or you hate them. So in their time from a youth all the way up, they probably played with at least one quarterback they hate, and they'd be like, I know I'm going to love this guy because everyone else around him loves him. So, that's the type of player that you want to play with. And you see, this is a generational type of talent. If I go play with them and I'm the missing piece, what could we do next year? And that's the big selling point is like, you're going to get elite play at the quarterback position, and that's the toughest position to get elite play in. So then if you're a defensive lineman or you're a wide receiver, all those you're still going to look at like, ooh, this is an opportunity to go play for that national championship. So I think that's the big selling point of the Heisman there. And if you're an offensive player, you look at it and you go, oh, wait, Lincoln Riley's done this how many times? In the last 7 years, he's had 6 different finalists as an assistant coach and a head coach. I think I want to play in that offense. That sounds like they're producing.
100%. Trojan, what needs to happen to get Reggie the Heisman back? I heard it was in the works, and it's a matter of when, not if. I do think this helps winning another one, and it's in the, people are talking about it again. NIL stuff probably helps. Do you guys have any thoughts on this?
I mean, you would probably know better just because you were around for that situation and, have been through the full ordeal from the playing time to the trials to all that, the investigation to all that type of stuff. What needs to happen to get Reggie his Heisman back? I would guess the Heisman Trust wants him to apologize, but also like it's time to move on if you're the Heisman Trust. Like everything that you could say that he did that was illegal or whatever is now legal. So why is it a big deal now? Reggie's there has to be a little bit of give on both sides. I would think that is the biggest thing. That's the biggest hurdle. And are either side going to do that, or are they going to be stubborn? That'll be the big question. Obviously, there's a big push. Matt Leinart talks about it every time that he's asked about Reggie Bush. It's like, hey, he needs his Heisman back. Carson Palmer said he should have got it back a long time ago. That was something that he said on Saturday morning. Basically every Heisman winner, like they either watched Reggie when they were growing up and we're like, wow, this guy's amazing, he should have his Heisman back. Or the older guys, like, I don't know, maybe there's some of the older generation, they're like, no, he shouldn't have it. But those guys are also dying out, unfortunately. So
Yeah.
maybe the sway is going for the younger guys versus older guys, but it just needs to happen.
Yeah.
There's no reason why it shouldn't happen now. There's been other character faults for different players throughout that have won the Heisman, and all those other players still have their Heisman. So, guys have been in prison, guys have whatever it is, have been suspended in the NFL or suspended in college, and they still have their trophies. Yet Reggie Bush, who did not do any of those things, does not have his trophy. So it's time for it to happen.
Yeah.
Are you saying there's a second Bush push?
Oh, I like it.
Ooh,
Second
look at you,
push.
Chris.
There's a lot, though. I mean, you're here, people, media members, there's like, okay, this is dumb. Just put it back. The fact that they said 8th Heisman on TV, I think that was a big deal. So yeah, I don't know all the details of what's going on, but I think that's where they're pushing for it right now. We have a question from Eric. Can you recap how a transfer affects scholarship numbers? I mean, it's like
Chris?
Come in.
They count for a scholarship?
Yeah, like
There's no cap on how many players you can have in any given class. It used to be 25, but now it's just in terms of overall scholarship limits. So you could have 40 guys come in this year, but as long as you're under that cap of how many scholarship players you can have, that's fine. There's no cap on how many you can bring in any given season. So USC, has 20 or 19 commitments right now in the high school class. They could bring in 15 transfers if they wanted to, as long as the numbers all fit.
Yeah.
Guys graduating, guys going to the NFL, guys getting, leaving the program like so many did last offseason. It's all just in terms of if you have the numbers, you have the space, you can bring in as many guys as you want. But, I guess if you're asking in terms of does a transfer count as a scholarship? Yes, transfers count as a scholarship. It's not like they're playing like Muhammad's playing on a Georgia State scholarship. No, he's playing on a USC scholarship. He is a scholarship player and will count towards the total number of scholarships you can have for any given year.
Yeah. All right. I think that's all the questions I had. I know Chris looks like he's a little uncomfortable with the
It's squeezing my brain in, guys.
So we should probably.
I'm a little worried.
We should probably end it here, unless Shotgun
Got
gets
a
something.
couple of rapid fire for you,
Okay.
Ryan. I can answer most of these. But Ron from LA, Lower Alabama, said, "Why could they not have all USC Heisman winners on the stage last night? Enjoy the show. Thanks for watching, Ron." But like I said a little bit earlier, it's a invitation for the former winners to come each year, the Heisman, trust, but they're not paying for everything. So it's up to the individuals to get themselves there. But then there's dinners and stuff. So it's worth their while if they want to go. But there's no, it's not like everything's full expenses paid. So that's probably plays into it a little bit. And STL Trojan, he has a fun fact for you guys. I don't know if you knew this, but if Lincoln Riley has 2 more Heisman Trophy winners, 2 more, he gets a free sandwich.
Nice. There you go.
He gets the whole punch card is done.
Pretty impressive.
Great comment there. Big T want to know, will we see a rush of transfers out in the next couple of days, or will it happen after the bowl game? I think that you saw the big rush initially of just players entering the transfer portal, not just USC, but across the nation. And then I think it'll be a little bit quieter. You'll see some guys trickle in a little bit. But then as each bowl game is played, I think then you'll see the teams that played, you'll see some more guys come out. So I would say, just in a very general sense, like maybe you saw 40% of the guys from each team enter now, and then you'll see 60% later, and it'll depend team by team. But I think there'll still be more players from those bowl eligible teams that are in there.
Yeah.
And then I think I have one more, maybe LTO want to know, or ITO want to know, what's the chance Caleb switches numbers to try to get 2 jerseys retired if he repeats, just like Kobe with 8 and 24? That's a very interesting thought. And it was interesting that Caleb Williams mentioned, he said the coolest and strange, and kind of, I think it was weirdest is the word he used, thing about potentially winning the Heisman Trophy was that he gets his number retired at USC. And he said that's a huge honor, obviously, because that's the only way that it happens at USC. And I meant to ask Matt Leinart this to see if he remembered if his number was up there in the season that that he played, if they put his number up in the peristyle end or not. It's still, because I can't remember if that's the case or not, but it'll be interesting to see if that 13 is up there and then on the field as well. Adonis Ote is going to have to probably get a new number. That's all I'm going to say.
Probably, yeah. All right. Well, everyone, hope you guys enjoyed the show. Chris bringing it. The swim coach, awesome. Just dedicated to the bit, which we appreciate. I know the swim cap's a little snug on you there, and Shotgun joining us from the East Coast. It was great to get you on remotely. We'll probably this will probably be our crew like during the off season. At least, when Jack comes back, maybe we can get him back and stuff too, but we can do some more of these remote shows with Shotgun. But it was great to get your insight, Shotgun, being there in New York City and all that. Pretty awesome. And thanks everyone who's been tuning in and watching. Make sure you're going over to USCfootball.com and checking out all the content over there. It's going to be a busy month. Transfer portal, recruiting, USC's roster, USC's ability to make a run at a college football playoff in 2023, largely going to be determined by what happens this month of December. So you make sure, if you're big into the USC football stuff and you're here watching, you want to make sure and figure out what's going on, because it's really important stuff going on right now. Yeah, Shotty.
Make sure you guys are subscribed. Obviously, a ton of stuff is going up. If you're not a member and you're not getting the transfer target list, I mean, are you a real USC fan? That's a real question there. But we've had so much great content this past week. Caleb Williams, everyone kind of contributed with different Caleb Williams stuff. We still got a couple more things that are coming out, so make sure you guys are subscribed there. But also, I wanted to give a shout out to Tuli Tuipulotu, because in award season, you can go to you can be a finalist for everything and end up being second fiddle to someone, and that's basically what happened to Tuli this year. Was a finalist for 3 or 4 of the top defensive player of the year awards, and Will Anderson, the generational defensive end, in my opinion, from Alabama, ended up winning all those. But congratulations to Tuli, an amazing season for him. But still a shout out for him, because he did not win while Caleb Williams was bringing home the trophies.
I think he's probably excited because he doesn't have to talk.
He's better.
Hey, that's not
I think
true,
he's more
Chris.
relieved.
Yeah,
Chris, he has come so far from as a sophomore or junior in high school when I first talked to him, and he took a public speaking class this off season. So he did such a better job this season of being able to communicate. It was great to see just his continued development. That was really fun. And since I'm speaking on continued developments, it was great for me personally to see CJ Stroud, just a wonderful kid, wonderful family. Wrote about him a couple times when he was at Rancho Cucamonga. To see him in New York, and he recognized me and came up and dapped me up and everything. So that was really fun. Just he's seeing me, after they come off the stage the very first time, and he was like, "Hey, Shotgun," came over and dapped me up. So that was really fun. And he's going to be going to the NFL after this. So wish him the best of luck as well. I wanted a quick thing on his suit game. I don't know what you guys thought of that. And there was some questions about USC on Caleb Williams' suit game, which maybe we'll get into the next show or something. But CJ Stroud's suit was actually his backup suit, because he got some pizza stains on it. He's sponsored by Express. He had these big billboards in Times Square, like you see him and Jackson Smith and Jigba, like you walk out on a Times Square and there's CJ Stroud. But he got some pizza stains or something. He had a photo shoot the day before the suit that he was going to wear. But this is clout right here. He had a tailor in Texas, and Joey Kaufman, former USC, former Trojan, former USC beat writer as well, who writes for the Columbus Dispatch, had a story on this. But he had a tailor in Texas fly up his suit that he was intending to wear for the college football playoff. It was going to be his suit game for the playoff game that they have against Georgia, and instead he had to get it flown in. And that's true clout right there, when you can get your tailor from Texas to fly in your suit the day of the Heisman Trophy presentation to make sure you look fresh.
Pretty impressive. All right. Well, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in to Tunnel Vision. Had a lot of fun. Great to be able to talk about something as amazing as USC winning its 8th Heisman Trophy. Congratulations again to Caleb Williams. We'll be back. We got a preview, the Cotton Bowl. We got shows coming up. We'll talk about the transfer portal, recruiting, and all that kind of stuff. But for Shotgun Spratling and Chris Trevino over there, swim fan, I'm Ryan Abraham. Hope you guys enjoyed the show, and we will talk to you next time.